In a small town named Thornton, there lived a young woman named Clara Jenkins. Clara was known for her boundless ambition, but her dreams felt constantly just out of reach. She worked at the local diner, pouring coffee and serving pancakes, all the while feeling trapped in a cycle of financial uncertainty. Despite working long hours, she struggled to make ends meet. Clara often found herself daydreaming about owning a small business, envisioning a cozy café filled with happy customers. However, each time the thought of starting her own venture crossed her mind, doubt crept in. Clara felt she lacked the knowledge and skills necessary to navigate the world of finance and entrepreneurship. Growing up in a family where money was always tight, Clara developed a complicated relationship with it. She believed that financial success was meant for others, those who were born into wealth or had a clear plan. She watched her parents stress over bills and make choices that kept them from ever getting ahead. Determined to break this pattern, Clara began to explore books and podcasts about financial success, seeking to expand her understanding of smart money management. Her motivation was fueled by a deep desire for change, not just for herself but also for her family, to be a beacon of hope amid their struggles. As she bravely took her first steps towards self-improvement, Clara quickly realized the impending challenges. The world of strategic thinking and financial success wasn't just about having a dream, it required planning, a keen understanding of her strengths, and a willingness to learn from her mistakes. There were moments when Clara felt overwhelmed, contemplating giving up, but each small victory, like saving her first $100 or learning to create a budget, sparked a flicker of hope within her. On this journey of transformation, Clara would learn to embrace the hurdles, knowing that each challenge was a stepping stone toward her dreams of financial independence and personal growth. Clara stood in her small apartment, surrounded by stacks of books she had borrowed from the local library. Each book whispered promises of financial freedom and success, but Clara felt a knot of doubt tightening in her stomach. How could she, a waitress with no formal education about finances, ever hope to understand these complicated concepts? She took a deep breath and opened the first book, determined to push through the uncertainty. As days turned into weeks, Clara carved out a little time each night after work to read and learn. She followed financial experts online, eager to absorb their wisdom and advice. She watched videos that explained how to create budgets and what the difference was between saving and investing. These new ideas felt both exciting and overwhelming. It was like standing at the base of a mountain, with an intimidating journey ahead. Clara realized that, to make changes, she needed to adopt new habits. Clara started small, tracking her expenses for the first time in her life. She grabbed a notebook and wrote down every cup of coffee she bought, every bill she paid, and every dollar she spent. It was a painful process at first. She didn't realize how much she was spending on little things, the fancy drinks at the diner or the quick lunches on busy days. At times, she felt defeated. It was easy to slip back into old habits, especially when friends invited her out. "Come on, Clara." Just this once, her friend Lisa called out one evening, waving her hand as she headed into the local bar. Clara hesitated, standing at the crossroads between her old life and the one she was trying to build. She wanted to join them but reminded herself of her goal. "Maybe next time," Clara said with a smile, and watched as her friends disappeared inside. Feeling a mix of pride and loneliness, she chalked it up as a small victory. She spent the time instead to write down a simple weekly budget. Over time, Clara attempted to implement more strategies into her life, like setting aside specific amounts of money each week to save. Some days were better than others. One week she successfully saved $10, and another week only managed to put aside a few coins. Each time she set a goal, she found herself battling a wave of self-doubt. Would it really make a difference? Was she capable of transforming her financial situation? These thoughts echoed endlessly, often louder than any reassurance. Despite the struggles, Clara discovered support in unexpected places. Online forums filled with other beginners shared their experiences. She soon joined a local community group focused on financial literacy. Sitting in a room with others, their longing for better financial futures mirrored her own. It inspired her to trust the process, to learn, and to grow alongside her peers. The encouragement shared in those meetings flickered like a flame, pushing back against her doubts. However, self-doubts didn't vanish entirely. The world of finance felt large, and sometimes Clara would swim beneath the waves of confusion, especially when she broached the topic of investing. The stories of others who had succeeded made her question if she had what it took. Was her dream of a successful café too ambitious? Those moments of uncertainty hung over her like dark clouds, but there remained something within her, a tiny sparkle of hope that suggested she was just beginning her journey. Each struggle unveiled another layer of resilience she didn't know existed. Even when she stumbled, Clara knew she had taken vital steps, and although difficult, the climb toward better financial literacy paved the way to a new mindset. With each reading, budgeting session, and interaction with others on similar paths, Clara waved goodbye to old fears. She was ready to face whatever came next. One chilly morning, Clara received a surprising email that made her heart race. It was from the owner of the local café, Betty, who was looking to sell her business. Betty knew that Clara had been a loyal customer and had expressed her dream of opening a café of her own someday. The email invited her to meet and discuss the possibility of buying the café. As Clara read and reread the words, a mix of fear and excitement surged through her. This was a chance to finally chase her dream, but it also felt overwhelming. Clara spent the next few days wrestling with her thoughts. On one hand, it was terrifying to consider such a big commitment. She was still learning about financial management and didn't think she was ready to dive into running a business. But on the other hand, this opportunity might not come around again. She had been saving a little bit of money and felt she could invest it into something meaningful. Could this be the step she needed to take toward her goals? In her quiet moments, Clara replayed the past months in her mind. She remembered the hard work she had put into budgeting, the support from the community group, and how much she had grown in her understanding of finance. Maybe I do have what it takes, she whispered to herself as she considered the financial reports she had studied. But doubts still clung to her mind. Could she realistically handle the costs of running a café? What if things didn't go as planned? Determined to make an informed decision, Clara engaged in discussions with friends and mentors over coffee. She expressed her fears and shared her dreams. "You've come a long way, Clara. This could be your chance," her friend Mark encouraged her. Clara soaked in the support. This boosted her confidence, and she decided to create a list of potential risks and rewards attached to this opportunity. Clara carefully analyzed the figures included in the information she received. What costs would she face? What revenue could she realistically expect? She reminded herself to channel her learning about financial literacy, buying, selling, saving, and making practical decisions. She didn't shy away from seeking advice either. Betty offered to meet for coffee and discuss the future of the café in detail, explaining the operational side and what it would take to keep things running smoothly. As the day of their meeting approached, Clara was filled with anticipation. In her mind, she envisioned herself greeting customers each morning, serving warm, freshly brewed coffee, and creating a space where people felt at home. But as her excitement grew, so did her internal struggle. Confidence and doubt danced around in her thoughts. What if it was too risky? The meeting finally arrived, and Clara sat across from Betty, who shared her experiences, challenges, and the love she held for the café. The conversation turned to the financials, where Betty explained the café's profit margins and monthly expenses. Clara listened intently, understanding for the first time how some of the figures reflected the health of the business. To Clara's relief, Betty expressed her belief in Clara's potential. "You care about the community, and that makes all the difference," she said, hoping to instill confidence. Taking a deep breath, Clara felt her heart race but realized she was ready to ask the tougher questions. After understanding all her prospects, it wasn't just about numbers or potential, it was about passion, commitment, and the relationship she wanted with her future business. The more they talked, the more Clara understood that starting the café would not just be a financial investment, it would be an investment in her dreams. By the time they parted ways, Clara's head buzzed with optimism. Although her heart still held a thread of fear, she now saw the possibilities. Each piece of knowledge she had gained over the months felt like a stepping stone, leading her closer to not just an opportunity but her true self. Clara realized this challenge could amplify her confidence, marking it as a crucial moment in her journey toward financial independence and success. She was finally ready to embrace risk and pursue her dreams with both courage and clarity. The first few months after Clara decided to pursue the cafe felt like a whirlwind of exciting opportunities and newfound responsibilities. She and Betty worked closely to ensure a smooth transition, and Clara poured her heart into the business. Slowly, she transformed the cafe into a vibrant community hub. Customers began to gather for morning coffee and lively conversations, and word spread about the cozy atmosphere. But just when Clara thought she was on solid ground, a significant setback hit like a lightning bolt. One morning, Clara arrived at the cafe to find the power out. An unexpected storm had caused damage to nearby electrical lines, leaving the building in darkness. Without power, she couldn't brew coffee or serve food, and this threatened not only her revenue for the day but also the trust she had built with her customers. Panic began to seep into her thoughts as the reality of the situation took hold. Clara felt the weight of the responsibility on her shoulders, and in those moments, all the fear she had fought against surfaced again. As she paced the cafe, Clara's mind raced with questions and doubts. What should I do, she thought, feeling overwhelmed. Will this ruin everything? What if customers decide to go elsewhere? I can't afford to lose money right now. She could feel her old habits creeping back in, the fear of financial instability wrapped around her like a tight blanket. While waiting for the power to be restored, Clara picked up her notebook and began jotting down her thoughts. This had always helped her when she struggled. She listed out the problems she faced. The storm had impacted other businesses as well, so what could she do to keep customers engaged while they waited for the cafe to reopen? What were her financial options? Suddenly, she remembered something from one of the webinars she had watched: creative problem solving. Consider the risks and think outside the box. Clara grabbed her phone and decided to leverage social media, connecting with her loyal customers online. She shared an update about the storm and emphasized that their safety was a priority. Then, Clara came up with a plan. She suggested an informal outdoor coffee hour at a local park once the sun came back out. Bringing coffee and pastries to the park would engage the cafe's followers without needing electricity. But as she began spreading the word, the nagging voice of self-doubt lingered quietly. What if not enough people show up? What if I can't carry everything? Each small worry began to chip away at her resolve. The struggle to stay focused on the positive was challenging. Clara understood that this was a crucial test of her resilience and her ability to remain strategic under pressure. When power was finally restored, the cafe was still buzzing with a light that only community support could bring. A large group gathered at the park, excited to see Clara. She arrived with pastries and coffee in hand, ready to keep her vision alive even in the storm's shadow. The moment she saw familiar faces smiling and engaging felt surprisingly comforting. As she looked into the cheerful faces, Clara's heart swelled with hope. Perhaps she wasn't just fighting her doubts alone, the community she had built was behind her. Still, Clara felt tired, and the emotional toll of that morning weighed heavily on her. Old habits wanted to convince her that every challenge was a sign of failure. She took a deep breath and reminded herself that setbacks were merely stepping stones towards success. In those moments of struggle and growth, she began to realize that she had come too far to let fear dictate her future. Facing adversity would not be easy, but Clara knew she had the strength to withstand the storm, both in the cafe and within herself. The chaos of the storm had settled, but Clara still felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her. As days passed after the unexpected power outage, she noticed a sharp decline in sales. The excitement from the outdoor event was fading, and the reality of keeping the cafe afloat began to gnaw at her. It was the first time since opening that Clara faced the harsh truth of wavering financial stability. One evening, as Clara sat at the cafe counting the day's earnings, frustration crept in. The numbers didn't add up. Bills were piling up, and she began doubting whether she had made the right choices. Memories of those struggles she faced earlier returned, and a familiar feeling of fear emerged. What if I can't pay the rent next month, she thought, feeling hopeless for the first time. What if I fail at this? In the lull of a quiet day, Clara took a moment to breathe deeply and gather her thoughts. She reached for her notebook filled with lessons learned over the past months. Pages of dreams, strategies, and little victories stared back at her, and for a moment, she felt empowered. Clara remembered the community that supported her, the friends who believed in her, and the hard work she had put into building her café. But now, faced with dwindling customer visits, she was at a crossroads. Clara stared at the numbers, contemplating two choices. The first was to cut costs aggressively. This meant reducing staff hours, turning down marketing opportunities, and possibly even eliminating special features like live music that had drawn customers before. It seemed like the safe route, the old habit of retreating in the face of uncertainty, a decision rooted in fear. It felt like giving up, even if only a little. The second option was to take a risk, launch an innovative marketing campaign designed to attract new customers while nurturing the regulars. She could offer special discounts, build partnerships with local businesses, and leverage social media more effectively. This approach would require investment, an allocation of funds she had been saving for eventual business improvements, but also a chance to invigorate the environment she cherished. Would she be able to handle the pressure of pushing forward even when every part of her wanted to retreat? As Clara weighed the consequences of both options, the stakes felt high. Failure meant potentially shutting the cafe for good, tearing apart the dream she spent months building. Yet, imagining the success of her marketing efforts gave her hope. What if this is just the break I need, she whispered to herself, feeling a flicker of determination come back. She closed her eyes for a moment and pictured customers filling the cafe once more, friends laughing over cups of coffee, and the sounds of conversation filling the space. The vibrant life she envisioned stirred something within her, pushing back against the daunting doubts. In that moment of insight, Clara recognized a truth: true success required taking risks, even when the fear of failure loomed large. With renewed clarity, Clara decided to take that leap. She took one last look at her spreadsheet, with its numbers filled with worries, and created a new document, a plan for a marketing campaign focusing on community engagement. Inspired by her own journey and the collective spirit she had fostered, Clara plotted ways to uplift the people she had come to care about. As she began drafting ideas and formulating a budget that allocated her remaining funds towards this new path, she felt fear and excitement intermingle. Clara acknowledged the risks she was about to take, feeling the weight of the decision on her shoulders. It wasn't easy, but at that pivotal moment, she promised herself she would rise above her past habits. Her heart raced with the understanding that the path ahead would test her resilience, but it would also open doors to possibilities she had only dared to imagine. Clara was ready to embrace the challenge that could shape her financial future once and for all. With determination coursing through her, Clara dove into creating her marketing campaign for the café. She clearly understood that her decision to invest her remaining funds was not born from a whim but rather from weeks of reflection, research, and the knowledge she had gathered about financial strategies. Focusing on her guiding principles, she mapped out her action plan with intention and care. Her primary goal was to attract new customers while keeping her loyal regulars coming back. Clara started by reaching out to local businesses to form partnerships. She proposed a cross-promotion idea where they would both benefit, bringing in local artisanal goods to supplement the café's offerings while promoting each other's brands. The bakery down the street agreed to provide fresh pastries every Saturday, enticing new visitors with a weekly bread and brew special. Clara realized that building relationships within the community could enhance her credibility and visibility. Next, she designed a social media campaign that featured engaging posts. Clara took photos of the bustling cafe filled with laughter and coffee, showcasing the warm atmosphere she had worked so hard to create. She included customer testimonials highlighting their favorite drinks, enticing features, and upcoming events like open mic nights that would make the cafe a hub of activity. Clara shared stories about her journey, asking customers to support their local business during tough times. Every post was crafted to resonate with her audience and reflect her passion for the cafe. To make the most of her marketing efforts, Clara also offered limited-time promotions. She established a loyalty card that rewarded customers with a free drink after 10 purchases, encouraging them to return more often. A happy hour discount for afternoons when business typically slowed was introduced as well. Clara's excitement about these changes infused a new energy into the cafe, and it felt as if a fresh breeze was blowing through the space. As she implemented these strategies, a wave of anxiety washed over Clara. After weeks of uncertain financial pressure, she could feel her heart racing whenever she glanced at the cafe's sales figures. What if her effort didn't pay off? Yet, she reminded herself that doubt wouldn't deter her from her path. Her internal dialogue changed. Instead of seeing failure as a final destination, she recognized it as a potential learning opportunity, a chance to adapt. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, Clara started noticing changes. The number of customers gradually increased. Regulars began to talk about the new offerings and upcoming events, word spread through social media, and the community reacted positively. The partnership with the bakery not only diversified the menu but also attracted additional foot traffic. Clara beamed with pride as laughter filled the cafe, customers drawing closer to the varied delicacies surrounding them. But even amid this positive turn, Clara faced challenges. It wasn't long before she realized additional stock might be needed to keep up with the rising demand. Fueled by a mixture of excitement and fear, she applied the financial principles she had been studying. She calculated her cash flow, ensuring that the increased orders would not jeopardize her budgeting goals. Clara made strategic adjustments, ensuring her costs remained manageable. Despite her fear of not being sufficient, Clara remained focused on the long-term success of her cafe. She kept meticulous records of her sales and expenses to track her progress. If a week of sales exceeded her expectations, she would reinvest the surplus into the cafe's needs rather than letting every windfall slip away without purpose, illustrating a shift in her mindset toward wealth and success. As customers poured in, Clara couldn't help but think how much she had transformed. She had grown in confidence and knowledge, no longer afraid of making strategic decisions based on her experiences and financial principles. Each obstacle she faced became another opportunity for growth. Clara understood that building financial success was a journey rather than a destination. With each new customer who walked through the door, Clara embraced a future filled with promise, one grounded in her commitment, community, and newfound expertise in navigating the world of business. She smiled widely, clutching her notebook filled with hope, realizing that this was just the beginning. Weeks turned into months, and the cafe blossomed into a thriving business that breathed life into the small Thornton community. Clara couldn't believe the transformation that had taken place since she implemented her marketing strategies. Seeing the cafe filled with familiar faces and new customers made her heart swell with pride. The laughter and conversations flying back and forth were a constant reminder of her hard work and resilience. Most days, she felt a rush of gratitude for the opportunity to live out her dream. As she settled into the daily rhythm of managing the business, Clara found herself reflecting on the steps that brought her to this point. From the anxiety that came with analyzing financial reports to the exhilaration of launching successful promotions, she began to see the long-term effects of her decisions. The partnerships she established, like the one with the bakery, had become invaluable. They didn't just attract customers, they created a network of local businesses that supported each other, fostering a sense of community. Clara knew it was essential to stay adaptable. While the cafe was currently thriving, she recognized that the business world could shift at any moment. Rather than resting on her laurels, she dedicated time each week to refine her strategies, keeping a pulse on her sales data and customer feedback. Clara implemented a monthly review to analyze what promotions performed best, drawing insights that could help improve future marketing efforts. The discipline she had practiced, tracking her expenses, budgeting effectively, allowed her to create a more stable financial foundation, one built on informed decisions rather than merely reacting to challenges. One quiet afternoon, with the cafe closed and customers gone, Clara took a moment to sit at her favorite table by the window. Sunlight streamed in, warming the room. She recalled the struggles she faced early on and how panic often gripped her whenever uncertainty loomed. But now, peace filled her heart. She recognized that her relationship with money and work had undergone a profound transformation. In the early days, fear had controlled her actions. Now, she approached financial decisions with confidence, guided by knowledge and experience. Clara thought about wealth, no longer viewing it solely as a means to an end but rather as a tool, an integral part of a fulfilling life. The cafe was about more than just earning a living, it was about joy, community, and sharing moments with others. Success, she realized, was not measured in numbers alone but in the connections she nurtured and the warmth she brought to the lives of those around her. As she reflected on her evolving work ethic, Clara understood the importance of hard work but also recognized value in balance. In her quest for achievement and pride in her business, she had learned that personal well-being mattered too. Taking breaks and recharging is just as essential as pushing ahead, she mused. A harmonious approach to work and life had emerged, allowing her to relish the journey while still being future-focused. Aware of potential challenges still ahead, Clara found herself looking forward to the possibilities. Armed with a better mindset, she felt prepared to tackle whatever obstacles might come her way. If any setbacks arose, she'd learned the importance of viewing them through a lens of opportunity, reflection, and growth, rather than allowing them to send her spiraling into self-doubt. The café had become more than a business in Clara's life. It was a testament to her journey, a journey that framed not just her financial success but her personal growth and evolving beliefs about what it meant to truly thrive. With renewed confidence, she planned for the future, knowing that she was ready to navigate any challenges while firmly rooted in the lessons learned. Clara's heart swelled with hope and excitement as she envisioned all the possibilities that lay ahead. One sunny morning, as Clara arranged freshly baked pastries in the café's display case, she noticed a crowd gathering outside. Curious, she wandered outside only to find a local news reporter setting up to cover an event for small businesses in the area. The reporter was seeking entrepreneurs willing to discuss their experiences and successes, inviting people to share their stories on air. Clara felt her pulse quicken, a mixture of excitement and nerves washed over her. This opportunity could showcase her café and solidify its place in the community, but it also came with its own set of risks. In the past, Clara might have felt fear bubbling up inside her, worrying about public speaking or how her café would be perceived. But this time felt different. Clara had grown immensely over the past months. She saw this as a chance to share her journey and include the hard-earned lessons she had learned about financial management and entrepreneurship. She took a moment to gather her thoughts, reminding herself that her story was worth telling and her voice mattered. Deciding to rise to the occasion, she approached the reporter with newfound confidence. As the camera rolled and she spoke about her experiences opening the café, Clara reflected on how far she had come. She shared not only the success of her small business but also the struggles she faced along the way, such as learning to balance her budget and adapting her marketing strategies. Recalling moments of insecurity and doubt, Clara articulated how they shaped her determination. She emphasized the lesson that seeking knowledge is crucial. She had turned her anxiety into action, which transformed her overall perspective on wealth and achievement. After finishing her interview, Clara felt a surge of exhilaration. The reporter smiled and thanked her, assuring her that the segment would air later that week. The excitement of sharing her story pulsed through her veins, and she realized that her transformation had empowered her not only to overcome personal challenges but also to inspire others. In the days that followed, Clara decided to channel this momentum into something tangible. She started a community workshop series at the café focused on financial literacy for aspiring entrepreneurs. These workshops would delve into budgeting, marketing basics, and strategic planning, core principles she had mastered through her own journey. Clara created the curriculum, drawing directly from her experiences and aligning them with the lessons she learned during her transformation. As the first workshop day approached, she felt a mixture of joy and nervousness. This time, anxiety was rooted in excitement rather than fear. When the evening arrived, the café filled with eager participants, ready to learn. Clara greeted them with a warm smile, relieved by the sight of curious faces. Throughout the session, she was methodical and logical, utilizing real-life examples from her café to illustrate concepts. She encouraged questions and shared personal anecdotes, fostering a supportive atmosphere where everyone felt comfortable. As discussions flowed, Clara saw how people emerged with newfound ambitions and sharpened goals, their enthusiasm reflecting her own journey. The success of the workshops brought a sense of fulfillment to her life, fortified by her commitment to helping others. It was not merely about wealth but about shared growth and wisdom in the community. Clara's ability to reflect and integrate her lessons into her daily life not only shaped the café's success but strengthened her role as a leader in the community. She found joy in the collaborative spirit fostered by her workshops, and her financial habits, practicing budgeting, reinvesting in her business, and making strategic decisions, began to spill over into everything she did, influencing participants in turn. With every challenge faced and every workshop conducted, Clara solidified her mastery of financial principles. This journey allowed her to thrive, embodying resilience and purpose. Eventually, as the last workshop of the month came to a close, participants embraced her with gratitude, a realization blossoming. Clara was a living testament to the power of knowledge and the strength that comes from transforming one's struggles into successes. This heartfelt connection not only marked the end of her journey but also the burgeoning spirit of a community united in growth. Months passed since Clara began hosting her workshops, and the café thrived on every level. Each workshop not only reinforced her own understanding of financial principles but also fortified her resolve to empower others. People in the community shared their success stories with her, expressing how the skills and knowledge they gained helped them navigate their unique challenges. With every participant who walked through her doors, Clara felt a sense of purpose, even deeper than running her café. She had become a catalyst for positive change in the lives of others. Through careful planning, budgeting, and her refusal to let failure define her, Clara reached a place of financial independence she hadn't thought possible. She no longer faced sleepless nights of worry about paying the rent. Now she could confidently manage her cash flow, and even set aside savings for future investments, knowing she was prepared for any obstacles that might arise. Clara had learned the importance of balancing her ambition with discernment. Her new approach stemmed from her understanding that financial independence was not simply about having a certain amount in the bank, but rather, it was about making sound decisions that supported her overall well-being. She had developed a meticulous work ethic, one that emphasized consistency over speed. The café had become a space where she cultivated both personal growth and community connection, a true sanctuary. Her understanding of wealth transformed during her journey. Initially, Clara equated success with financial gain. Now, success meant much more. It represented community ties, collaboration, and positively impacting the lives of those around her. Her connection to patrons deepened. They weren't just customers, they were friends sharing in the café's journey alongside her. As she contended with day-to-day challenges, Clara was no longer driven by fear or insecurity. Logical decision-making now guided her every move. Whenever a new obstacle appeared, instead of panicking, Clara recalled her past experiences, harnessing her knowledge to assess risks carefully. Every financial decision became an opportunity to learn rather than a source of dread. She continued to check in on her financial strategies monthly, refining them based on her café's growing needs while remaining committed to sustainable practices. Reflecting on all she achieved, Clara found herself in awe of her journey. The transformation wasn't solely financial, it had reshaped who she was as a person. When doubts had gnawed at her, she learned to push through and embrace uncertainty as part of growth. Each small gain propelled her toward embracing her dreams and amplifying her voice within the community. One evening, as Clara considered her plans for the café, she realized that this journey wasn't a fixed destination. Instead, it thrived on continuous growth, learning, and evolution. To her, true financial success meant not only achieving your goals but also lifting those around you. It was about sharing knowledge, advocating for financial literacy, and encouraging others to forge their paths toward their own independence. With renewed excitement, Clara started thinking about the next chapter of her journey. She envisioned expanding her workshops to local schools, teaching young people about money management, work ethics, and the power of setting goals. She wanted to plant seeds of understanding in her community, ensuring that others could nurture them into their paths of success. Clara's story became a beacon of hope, a model that resilience, education, and community spirit are vital in attaining financial success. By embracing her wisdom, everyone could take steps toward building their futures. Now that the café flourished, Clara understood that while her journey was about finding her footing, it had grown into a path that inspired many. With excitement flickering in her heart, she smiled at the thought of all that lay ahead, confident that she had the tools to navigate whatever came next.